Everyone, I just want to talk about a few things that have noticed lately. Today I woke up and I was reading the news and I saw that Julian Assanage was charged with rape, and the charges were dropped a few hours later, but it's an obvious smear campaign. These motherfuckers will stoop to no, there's no low they won't go. I mean, I'm reading this and it said that last week he was charged with sexually assaulting one woman, and then like 3 days later raped another woman. I mean, what was he on, some sort of like press junket slash rape spree? It's just fucking bullshit, of course. And then I've also been noticing that since it's summer and I live in Southern California, that there's tons of kids everywhere because the ones who aren't on year round are out. And I don't know if it's because parents can afford to hire people to take care of their kids or they just don't give a fuck. But I've seen kids roaming around that are at least 5 years old, maybe. I mean, just walking around on their bikes with no parents around. Today I noticed that like one of my neighbors has kids, two kids, and they're maybe like 8 and 6, I think. That's what they look like to me. And anyway, they came out of this alley that's near where I live, and people were selling meth out of this alley about like 6 months ago. They moved on to another alley down the street, but it just is so retarded that these little boys are walking around by themselves and going down these alleyways. Because also, some fucking pedophile lives down there. I've checked out the sex offenders registry, and I don't know if people just don't fucking look at it. If I was a parent, I'd be on there like every fucking day practically. It's just like, I don't know if people want to close their eyes and pretend that nothing's wrong with our society, but it's depressing. And also, my friend and I, we were walking to go to a movie, and there was a girl sitting on a bench waiting for the bus, and this truck pulls up, and he like motions for her to get in. And my friend and I saw this, and I was like, what the fuck? Really loud. And my friend screamed something, and then he just looked at us like we were, what the fuck, bitch, and drove away. I mean, she just shook her head no to the guy, but it was so fucking blatant and just like ballsy. Just pull over and try to get a little, she must have been like 14-year-old girl in your truck. Fuck you. And another weird thing happened to me the other day. They always happen when I'm walking around. So, yeah, I'm taking another walk, and I see this couple. They were like teenagers. One was, the girl, she must have been at the most 15. She looked like 13. The dude, he was bigger than her. He was probably like 16 or something. But anyway, they come around the corner, and he's like grabbing onto her arm. She's like trying to whip around, get out of his grasp, and he like forces her to into this like weird bear hug, and she's just standing like stock still. It reminded me of like a prey animal trying to be still so the predator wouldn't like attack her. So she's like forced into this weird embrace, and she would like twist her head to the sides, and he would like force her face back to him, his chest. And I like walk up, and I'm like, what do I do? Do I say something? Do I call the cops? I mean, it wasn't obvious enough where I would call the cops on it, but I knew something was wrong. And I looked at the girl, and she looked at me, and you could see on her face she did not want to be there. But I just walked by, and I kind of felt bad that I did. I felt like I should have said, "Are you okay?" or something, just to like know that someone else sees that this is fucked up. But then you never know. If you like get in a domestic violence situation with people, the guy could have yelled at me. He could have tried to do something. She could start yelling at me. It's just bizarre. But it just is depressing that it's happening to these younger and younger girls. Like, young girls are putting up with abuse from these assholes. And I think this is something that more men need to get involved with, this whole domestic violence issue. Because this is the kind of behavior that makes women like fucking hate guys. Honestly, it's just like, I know, like, not all guys are, like, abusive assholes, but I think more guys should be standing up and saying, yeah, fuck these guys. They shouldn't be getting away with this kind of thing. I don't know. It's just not a women's issue, and they always treat domestic violence as a women issue. And I know sometimes women are the perpetrators and not the victims, but more often than not, they're the victims of a domestic violence situation. And it's the same with rape. I mean, it's framed as a woman's issue, but it's not. It's also a male issue. Obviously, something's wrong if it's all these men are perpetrating these crimes and think it's okay, especially when it's like date rape and having sex with people when they're passed out drunk. I mean, that's a sense of entitlement, and people need to realize that you are not entitled to someone else's body just because you think you were getting signals that maybe she wanted to have sex with you or you were deluded. If someone's not clear, like fucking lucid enough to go to an ATM and pull out money, then I doubt they're going to be lucid enough to consent to having sex with someone. It's just ridiculous. But, you know, anytime you say that maybe there should be a law against having sex while intoxicated, people will freak out. Like, oh, I'll never get laid unless I'm fucked up. You know, there's a difference between having a few drinks and being fucking blacked out. I don't know why it's such a big issue. I guess it's the drinking culture and all that bullshit. And another thing about kids, my friend, she's taking care of her two nieces because her sister's a fucking tweaker. And when she got the girls, they were like little 4 and 2, I think, and they actually had to break down the door of the fucking meth house where the lady was staying. It was like an episode of Breaking Bad, I swear to God. And the youngest girl, the lady had been passed out for 2 days. She's laying in the bed butt naked, and the youngest one is crawled to the fridge and like got a pack of hot dogs and gnawed through it and was eating the hot dogs out of the package. And I don't know where the older one was. I think she might have been staying with the grandmother at the time. So my friend, she ends up taking the 2 girls and goes into hiding. And come to find out, both of these little girls have been molested. And they're older now. The oldest one's like 8. She's going to be 9. And I'm like their auntie. I take them to the beach and stuff like that when I feel like it. Take them to a movie occasionally. And I took them to the beach the other day, and the oldest one is like highly sexualized. She knows when guys are looking at her, and she'll like kind of want the attention, but you know, she's too young, didn't realize what she was doing. And she was wearing her little shorts and top, and we get to the beach. She takes them off. She's wearing this tiny ass bikini. And I immediately text one of my friends. I'm like, oh, what is she wearing? How did she get out of the house like this? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I guess she like snuck it on underneath her clothes. But it's just so fucked up that this little girl is already fucked up. And some people were working on their house. Like, they had moved into this new house, and there's this weird guy. He's obviously a drug addict. But my friend, she, you know, is friends with anyone after, you know, you say hi to them practically. And I noticed the girls had gone out into the backyard, and I was like, what are they doing in the backyard? And they weren't playing. And then I went out there, and they were talking to this weird guy. And I was pissed, and I was like, get your asses back in the house. And they're like, meh. And I marched them in. I'm like, they're sitting there talking to this guy. They have no business talking to this man. And my friend was like, don't do it again. And I'm like, what? You need to be more hard on them for this. And she's like, well, I don't want to embarrass the guy. I'm like, to me, that's a fucking stupid ass reason. You don't want to embarrass him? He could be a fucking molester. You don't know this guy. I don't give a shit if he gets embarrassed. If he's a real man, he would know if you say, girls, do not talk to this guy. He would understand. They had the same problem with this weird neighbor that they used to live in. And, like, the youngest one would always end up on his lap whenever they had, like, a neighborhood barbecue and shit. And finally, my friend had to, like, crack down because one time she went to hug him. And my friend was like, do not hug men. And the guy got all butthurt. and he went to talk to my friend's husband next door, who also has a little girl, and he had to kind of explain to him why she would say such a thing. And the guy was still upset because he's a drug addict too and a molester, I think. It's just, you can't trust anyone. Don't trust anyone with your kids. You can't even trust your own spouse. That's what's fucked up. My best friend, her mom, one time said that she's like, you can't trust anyone. You can't even trust your own husband. I was just like, wow. The world must be pretty fucked up if you can't even trust your own partner with your kids. Fuck. Don't have kids.